wherever Kent is. He doesn't look like he's home. So welcome everybody. So I've been in my own classes, you know, until they unfortunately got canceled this week, starting to talk about in the body, like the different places that we hold stress. And, you know, like we were going to work on the throat this week. We did the shoulders last week, but I thought this week would be a little more apt to talk about breathing, because our breath has so much impact on our lives in so many ways. And obviously, you know, I know you've all been yogis for a while, and the impact that our breath has just on our nervous system, how we respond and all that. So we're going to talk a lot today about the diaphragm and the lungs. And what I like to do when I teach these kind of concepts is really just to touch on them several times in various poses, just kind of see how it feels to draw that focus to that part of the body as we move through again, various poses. So we'll start here. Before we center, I wanted everyone to just sit and take your hands on your rib cage. So my fingertips are around the front of my rib cage and my thumbs are on the back of my rib cage. And you can keep your hands there as you begin to breathe. I will move my hands because I'm one of those people who can't speak unless my hands are moving with me. So I want you to think about your lungs and then your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is this muscle that kind of rests underneath your rib cage, and it's a huge part of how you breathe. You know, sometimes when we breathe shallowly, just in and out of the chest, we're not properly using our diaphragms. So your diaphragm is kind of shaped like a dome or like an umbrella, but it's a little easier to imagine it like a balloon when you try to think about your breath. So I want you to imagine breathing kind of from down by your belly button, like that's the bottom of the balloon, and filling it up. And as you do that, your lungs fill, and then as you exhale, that balloon deflates and your diaphragm actually presses up on your lungs to push out the air. So just breathe like that for a few rounds of breath. If it helps you to close your eyes, go ahead and do so. Feeling that expansion and contraction of the rib cage, and try to imagine that diaphragm doing its work here. All right, and you can take your hands away from your rib cage, rest them on your legs. Do a couple shoulder rolls, just let those shoulders release. And then I'd like you to sit comfortably, whatever that means for you. Your hands can rest on your legs. Your hands can come together in front of your heart. Your eyes can remain open, gazing at the floor in front of you or closing. And I just wanted to read you a few things about the diaphragm and the lungs. So if you hold stress in your diaphragm, often we hunch forward, right? Almost as if you're subconsciously trying to duck from the factors causing stress, hunching your shoulders to block it out. The result, the chest becomes constricted and the lungs are not fully expanded. We can end up feeling slightly out of breath, generally defeated and exhausted. So definitely that idea of exhaustion, right? If we're not getting enough oxygen into our body, we're not fueling our body the way it needs to be fueled. So it's important that we get these full diaphragmic breaths. So I'll just read a little more to you about the diaphragm. As I said, it's a dome-shaped muscle that sits on top of the stomach. It's your primary breathing muscle, along with the intercostal muscles between each rib. It is the most efficient use of oxygen and the healthiest way to breathe. Next time you can observe a baby or child, notice how their bellies move when they breathe, not their chest. Adults, especially those in pain or stressed, tend to use the secondary breathing muscles that include the neck, shoulder, and upper chest muscles. People with chronic pain tend to hold their breath during a flare-up of pain or breathe fast and shallow, especially when anxious. So that's what we're trying to avoid. And then of course, this deep breathing too, I was also reading about how it actually can help to decrease pain in the spine by increasing that space in the vertebrae. So if your hands aren't already in front of your heart, I invite you to take them there, taking a few deep breaths here in and out before we begin our practice. The moving part of our practice, I should say. Think about how you're sitting and how you're breathing. Rooting your sit bones into the mat, creating that space within your body as you breathe in And a sense of grounding as you breathe out. If you like to set an intention for your practice, take a moment and do that now. And release your hands by your sides. You can keep your eyes closed if you're comfortable with that. And then inhale, stretch those arms high up over your head and twist to your left, bringing that right hand onto the left knee and the left hand behind you. Exploring how that deep breath through the diaphragm and the lungs affects you here as you begin to twist, right? We create this little bit of contraction, and it's a little bit more difficult. And then unwind, stretch those arms up overhead. Take another breath in here, and then exhale, twist the opposite way. Staying tall as you breathe in and out. And then inhale, unwind, stretch the arms up overhead here, and then exhale, bring the hands long out in front of you, extending the arms almost as if you're in downward facing dog, pressing the hips back toward the floor. If it feels good, you can sway side to side a little bit here. And begin to walk those hands in and make your way into a tabletop position. Spreading the fingers wide, bringing the wrists underneath the shoulders. So as I said, I want to connect this diaphragmatic breathing to some of our movements. And cat-cow is a place that we often start, and we think about breathing deeply and how we're moving the body and letting the belly drop and lifting it up as we turn into cat. But trying to imagine again that balloon and the diaphragm doing its job here as you move through your cat-cows. So inhale, pull the heart and the chest forward, letting the belly drop. And as you exhale, imagine that dome-shaped diaphragm lifting up, pressing into the lungs to release the air. And then inhale, expand and fill up, lowering to make room for those lungs. And then exhale, contracting. So move through this a few times at your own pace. One more full round. And at that next inhale, we'll find a neutral spine, all meeting there together. And when you're ready, go ahead and lift and extend that right leg behind you, bringing the hips square to the mat, pressing back through the heel, or maybe flexing or pointing the toe, whichever feels more natural to you, as long as that leg is active, lifting the belly to the spine. And then since this is an all levels class, I'll have several options today. If it's part of your practice, go ahead and extend that left arm forward, or you can feel free to keep the left hand down on the floor. All right, so working with the breath here as we crunch a few times, we'll take an inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, bring the knee to the elbow. Inhale, stretch it out. Now, if this is too much for you, you can always bring that left hand to the floor. And then exhale, bring the knee into the elbow or even past it. Inhale, lengthen it out. Exhale, crunch knee to elbow. And then extend it all back out and hold it there. So now, first option, bend that right leg, reach around and find the foot with the hand. If this isn't accessible to you, you can extend your right leg behind you, bring the toes to the floor, wrap the left arm around and twist open to your left. So we're all twisting open to our left, either with the toes on the ground or the foot in the bind with the hand. Release, extend it all back out. Find length and space here. And then bring the left hand down and the right knee down. Resetting yourself up for that second side, extend your left leg back. Again, toes can be pointed or foot can be flexed, belly lifting to the spine, and then extend the right arm if you're taking that version, or keep that right hand down on the floor. Few breaths in and out here, trying to find that same deep breathing. And we'll take an inhale to prepare and lengthen, and then exhale, bring the knee to the elbow or knee to chest if you're taking that. Inhale, extend out. Exhale, bring it in. One more, extend it all out, and then crunch. All right, extend out, pause. Again, two options here, hand finding the foot or the foot coming to the floor and wrapping the right arm around, drawing the right shoulder back. Either way, you're twisting open to the right, either in the bind, full bind, or a partial bind. All right, release, extend it out. Bring the hand to the floor. Bring both knees back in line, tuck the toes. Go ahead and take your weight out of your wrist for a moment here and reach the arms up overhead. We'll take kind of a modified broken toe pose. Stretching those arms up, and then a little side bend off to your right, and wrap your right hand around and take a hold of your rib cage. Breathing deeply here, in and out, feeling those intercostal muscles stretching. Bringing that awareness back to the lungs and the diaphragm. All right, release that side, stretch both arms back up. Little side bend to your left, and then wrap the left arm around, holding onto the rib cage, feeling the breath as it comes in and out of the lungs. All right, stretch the arms up, bring those hands back down to the floor. Step back into a high plank and lift those hips up and back into downward facing dog. Gripping the mat with the hands, pedaling out the feet. Doing whatever you need to do here to start to loosen up the body. All right, and then finding stillness in your down dog, lifting the sit bones up, pressing the heels in the direction of the floor. All right, so a couple different options here. So first of all, we're going to inhale, lift onto the toes and come forward into a high plank. And then using that abdominal strength, exhale, lift the hips up and back to down dog. Again, inhale, come forward to high plank. And exhale, downward facing dog. One more time, inhale to high plank. And exhale, down dog. So that'll be an option later on when we move forward with that. And begin to lift onto the toes and walk, tiptoe as slowly as you can, making your way all the way to the top of your mat to forward fold. Grab opposite elbows, feet are about hip distance apart. Take ragdoll pose, put us up, bend in the knees, and let your heart rest on your thighs. Release the hands, bring the hands to the hips, squeeze the elbows toward each other, and inhale, rise up, stretch the arms all the way up overhead, and exhale, hands release to the heart or to your sides. All right, inhale, stretching the arms up. Exhale, hinging at your hips, folding forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, take the hands to the shins, lift the heart, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, folding back to Uttanasana, bend the knees, and step back into high plank. Lowering the knees to the floor, keeping the belly strong, elbows drawing back as you lower down to your belly. For prepping for cobra pose, press the tops of the toes down, and inhale, lengthen as you lift into cobra. Exhale, lower. Tuck the toes, either come to your knees and lift to down dog, or do a reverse push-up if you want something a little more difficult, pressing the body away from the floor, and then hips lift back up into down dog. Lifting that right leg up, three-leg down dog, pausing here, pressing the left heel to the floor, getting that nice stretch in the back of the left leg. Now from here, we're going to do that same motion, coming forward into a high plank and back to down dog. If that's available to you with this leg lifted, keep it lifted. If it's not, bring those right toes to the floor. So we'll inhale and come forward into that high plank with the foot lifted. And exhale, up and back, down dog or three-leg down dog. Two more like that. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, high plank. Exhale, down dog. Now, if you brought those right toes to the floor, lift them up, and we'll all take a big step forward with that right foot, pausing here in a low runner's lunge. Bring the right thumb into the right hip crease, rooting that hip down. Draw the right shoulder away from the ear. Left hand comes to the floor or to a block, and then twist open to your right. So a lot of twisting today. working those abdominal muscles, and then reach that right arm up toward the ceiling. Bring the hands down to the floor, lower the left knee down, walk the hands up onto the legs, and then reach those arms up for Anjaneyasana, low crescent lunge. All right, let your right hand take a hold of the left, stretch up, and then we'll side bend here again to our right. Trying to keep that right foot grounded into the floor. Breathing into that left side body. And let's release again that left hand, wrap the right hand around, and try to breathe into that right hand as it holds on to the rib cage. Bring the right thumb back into the right hip crease. Keep that length and space you created on the left side and begin to twist, hooking the left elbow across the leg. Then bring the palms to prayer position and start to turn the heart toward the hands. Noticing that bit of constriction in your breath. Still trying to find that space, that full lung capacity as you breathe in and out. Option here, if you'd like to gaze down at the floor and maybe start to lift that left knee away. Hands release to frame the foot. If you lifted the knee, go ahead and bring it down. We'll take a hamstring stretch here and half split, start to bring that right heel forward and extend the body out over the leg. Start to drag that heel back, pausing in that low lunge. Lift the back knee, bring the hands to the floor, and step back high plank. Rocking slightly forward onto the toes, hug the elbows back, knees can stay lifted or come to the floor, lowering all the way down. Tops of the feet press down, lift the knees, and press up, cobra pose. Exhale, lowering down. Again here, option to come to the knees and come to down dog, or press the floor away. Find that reverse push up, and then lift the hips to down dog. All right, so we're gonna come through that here on the second side. So you have the option, we'll all come into three-leg down dog so we can get that nice stretch in the back of the right leg. And then decide if you wanna stay here or bring the left toes to the floor as we move through high plank and downward facing dog. Next inhale, we'll come forward into that high plank, either with the left foot down or up. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, coming forward. Exhale, down dog. Last one, inhale, come forward. And exhale, down dog. All right, from here, if those left toes are on the floor, go ahead and lift them up. And we'll all take a big step forward, bringing that left foot forward between the hands. Placing your left thumb in your left hip crease, root that left hip down, lengthen through the crown of the head, and begin to twist open to the left. Then release that left hand and stretch it up. Release the left hand to the floor, and then lower the right knee to the floor, walking the hands up. When you're ready, reach the arms up, Anjaneyasana. Left hand will take a hold of the right, stretch up, find a lot of length with that inhale, and then exhale, a little side bend to your left. All right, so we'll release that left hand, wrap it around, hold on to that left side of the rib cage again. Trying to fill up there as we breathe. And then place your left thumb in that left hip crease. We're going to keep that length and space on the right side as we begin to twist and hook the elbow, bringing the palms together. Couple of breaths here, acknowledging that little bit of constriction as we twist and try to breathe deeply. And then if you'd like, if you haven't already, tuck the toes and start to lift the right knee away from the floor, but feel free to keep it down as well. Release the hands to the floor. And if that right knee is lifted, lower it down. We'll take half splits here. You can press that left heel forward slightly, extending the body out over the leg, keeping that little micro bend in the knee to keep it safe. right, begin to drag that foot back and make your way up into downward facing dog, pedaling it out a little bit here. All right, lift onto your toes and travel to the top of your mat. Step, hop, float, however you'd like to get there, finding forward fold. We'll take the hands onto the shins and lift halfway for Ardha Uttanasana. And folding. And inhale, stretch the arms up, get tall. And exhale, cactus the arms here, lift the heart. Take a couple breaths here in this back bend, broadening through the collarbones, reaching those elbows away from each other. And stretch the arms up and release those hands. I guess we give water breaks on video too, right? So if anybody wants to grab a quick sip of water. Okay, so as we return to the top of our mat, I have 2 blocks on either side of my mat. I think I see that a lot of you do have that as well. If they're not near you and you're planning on using blocks, I would definitely have them there within reach. You might need them here very soon. Okay. All right, so at the top of the mat, you can have your feet about hip distance or a little closer together. Let's take those thumbs down to those hips again and press the hips down as we lower down into Utkatasana chair pose. So we want to keep those hips grounded and pressing away so we have a lot of space to really breathe fully here. Relax the shoulders. And then bring those arms up for full chair pose here, reaching up. We're going to flow a little bit here and move. So take a breath in, extend out through those fingertips, and then exhale, sweep those arms back and bring the chest forward. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, bring them back. One more time, reach them up. And exhale, sweep them back. Hold there for a moment. Draw the hands toward each other. Okay. And inhale, stand up, stretch up, straighten the legs. Little break there. And then exhale, come right back into your chair pose. Now we're going to bring those arms directly out in front of us. So take an inhale here. And then as you exhale, reach your right arm back and begin to twist open to your right. Gaze down, look at the knees. That left knee probably wants to sneak forward, so draw it back a little bit. Now this is where you might want your block. We're going to start to pivot here, keeping the right hand pulling back and then up, and the left fingertips come to the floor. So you have a deeper bend in that left knee and the right leg is straight or straight-ish. Left fingertips can be on the floor, they can be up by your leg or placed on a block. We're going to release this, bend those knees back into chair, arms right out in front. Keep the core engaged to protect the low back. We're going to bring that left arm back, opening up to our left. Check in on those knees. Draw the right knee back if you need to. And then that left leg starts to straighten as you pivot and bring the right fingertips to the floor. Left fingertips reaching up toward the sky. All right, start to bend that left knee again. One more chair pose here. Reach those arms up. Keep those glutes engaged. Protect the low back. Take a big breath in. And exhale, finally folding forward. Inhale, lifting halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees and lightly step your left foot back. So left foot's back. We're coming into this low runner's lunge. And then lifting the arms up overhead for high lunge. We'll do some twisting here. Keep in mind, you always have the option to lower that left knee down onto the floor. All right, so we'll reach both arms back out in front again. Draw the shoulders onto the back, and then opening up to your right, reaching that right arm back, left arm forward for an open arm twist. Now you can take Exalted Warrior here. So there the right hand would come down by the left leg and reach the left arm up. If that's too much, stay in that open twist. Coming back to an open twist, Both arms back out in front, reach up, high lunge. Hands come down to the floor, framing that foot. Step back, downward dog, pedal it out. If you'd like to take a vinyasa here, you can take that, or stay here in down dog, or even take a child's pose. About 3 breaths here to see what you need to do. And lift onto the toes from downward facing dog and travel to the top of your mat. Step, hop, or float. Hands come to the shins. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, rise up, stretch the arms up. And exhale, cactus the arms, lift the heart. Inhale, stretch the arms up, neutral spine. Exhale, hinging, forward fold. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, folding, knees bend, step the right foot back. Once you feel stable in your legs, arms reach up, high lunge. So remember here, we have that option. If you need to bring the back knee down, you can do that. Bringing the arms out in front, draw the shoulders onto the back, and then open the left arm to the back of the room. Stretch the right arm forward, twisting to your left. So option from here to stay right here or take that exalted warrior. So your left hand will come on the back of the right leg and reach the right arm up and back. It's kind of like an awkward warrior too. It's almost more of what I feel like it is. Reverse warrior. Open those arms back up. Bring them out in front, stretch them up overhead. And bring the hands to the floor and step back. Downward facing dog. Let's all take downward dog this time. So I wanted to do a little twist here in down dog. So we're going to bring the feet wider on the mat and walk them slightly forward. Now, if you have really tight hamstrings, I know at least one person here does, this might be very challenging. So you want to feel more like you're in a wide down dog than in a forward fold. Left hand stays on the floor. Right hand is reaching for that left leg as you twist and look under the left arm. All right, release that side, take a breath, replace that right hand, and then take the left hand to the outside of the right leg and twist. Release that hand back to down dog, step back all the way into a high plank and lower all the way down onto your stomach. All right, if you have those blocks right next to you, you probably are gonna need to move them out of the way. Wanted to take this T shoulder stretch. So the arms come out like a T, and you can bring your left hand in closer to you. So now look over at your right arm and make sure that your wrist is basically directly extended from that shoulder joint. And then you'll start to turn and twist onto your right hip, bringing the left foot either in front of you or behind you for support. Head can come to the floor to rest. So what we're trying to do is open up the chest and smooth out the breath. So there are a few options here. If you're very flexible here and you already have the left foot behind you, so that would be the first thing, is to move the foot behind you. Then maybe you lift the left hand up off of the floor and stretch it up toward the ceiling. Other option is to take a bind here, bring the hand behind you where the back of the hand is near the lower back and stretch here. Some people even bind their hands. Certainly not any of those things are possibilities, not requirements. So see what works best for your body. If you've taken that left hand away from the floor, bring it back for support and start to roll off of that right side. Slowly and carefully, then bend that right elbow, bring the hand out for support, extend your left arm straight out from that shoulder joint, rest your head on the floor and start to turn onto the left hip. So that right foot can come behind you, it can stay out in front, the legs can stay stacked. Everyone's got a different place where they're comfortable here. And then taking whatever option you'd like to take on this side. Remembering that your shoulders are different and it might not match. That right arm can lift up or maybe wrap around behind you for a little bit of a bind. All right, bring the right hand back to the floor if it's lifted up and start to roll off of that left shoulder, coming back onto your belly. And we're gonna extend the arms directly out in front of us. So they're stretching out off of your mat. Do a little bit of lower back work here. So coming into locust pose, lifting the toes, and actually more Superman pose than locust pose. Our hands would be next to us, and extend those fingertips forward and the toes back. Don't worry about how high you lift up. Let's think length in that low back, strengthening the back, not compressing. Exploring here how it feels to try to breathe deeply. Kind of interesting with that floor pressing into our bellies. And lower down, bring the hands underneath the forehead and rest the forehead on those hands. Bend the knees and let the feet windshield wiper a little bit from side to side. And then from here, decide if you want to press back and take child's pose, come right to down dog, or take a vinyasa. Your choice here, yogi's choice, whatever you need. If you need to get that heart pumping a little bit more, or take a rest. All right, looks like we have a couple different things going on. So the hips are lifted. Let's all come into down dog. If you're not in down dog right now, we'll meet there. And then lifting onto the toes, taking your time or hopping to the top of your mat for forward fold, Uttanasana. Lifting up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana, and folding. And then inhale, rise up, stretch the arms up. Cactus the arms, lift the heart, little back bend here, maybe shifting the gaze toward the ceiling. And then stretch those arms up and release. Okay, we're gonna play with a little bit of balance here and side stretching. So we're stretching the arms up. The right hand again takes a hold of the left and then side bending to your right. So maybe shifting that gaze up toward the ceiling. Trying to breathe that space into those left intercostal muscles. All right, now from here, you can release the right hand down by your side. And first option is to step the left foot out with the toes on the ground. You're gonna start to feel that weight shift into the right side and then possibly start to flex that foot and lift the toes away from the floor. See if you can bring the foot down and the hands up overhead at the same time. Release those hands, give those arms a break for a moment, and then we'll stretch the arms back up and switch the sides. So we're taking a side stretch, left hand to the right and bending to the left side. Maybe gazing up a little bit if that agrees with your neck. Okay, for better balance, we can release the left hand to our side and begin to walk that foot out to the right with the toes on the ground. Staying right here if you'd like, or starting to lift that left foot, or right foot up, drawing the toes toward the head. See if you can release that right foot down and bring the arms up, and then release those hands. All right, taking a moment here. Closing your eyes, hands can be in front of the heart, maybe holding the rib cage or down by your side, wherever you're most comfortable. And for a few moments here, let's come back to the breath, back to what we've been working on with the diaphragm and the rib cage. So again, as you breathe in, that diaphragm lowers down away from the lungs to give them space. And as you exhale, it presses up and compresses the lungs to push out the air. All right, release the hands down by the sides. Inhale, gaze up. Exhale, hinge, forward fold. Inhale, finding that halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Bend the knees, step the left foot back, turn the left heel to the floor. Find heel to heel or heel to arch alignment, and then bring the arms up into warrior two. So the body is essentially facing the left side of your mat, hips turning that way, shoulders turning that way, gaze out over the front of your mat, over that right hand. All right, so we're gonna flip the palm on the right hand and reach forward though. Let's try to keep the depth in that right leg and then reach the hand up and back, like you're high-fiving that back wall, breathing space into the right side body. So notice that if you kind of try to press that right knee forward, you get a little more extension and length through the right side. Of course, never pressing it past the ankle, it's just a little bit of a micro movement. All right, let's straighten that front leg, give it a little break, and keep stretching those right fingertips back. And then back into warrior two. Reach forward again with that right hand, staying long through both side bodies, and then bring the forearm onto the leg and extend the left arm over the ear for side angle pose, Parsvakonasana. Pressing firmly into that left foot as you reach the fingertips in the opposite direction. Maybe turning the chest and the heart open a little bit more. Draw that right hip under and back. And turn the body toward the floor. Release the hands to the floor. And now we're going to step or jump switch those feet, bringing the left foot forward and the right foot back. Finding your warrior two stance, heel to arch alignment, lifting the arms up, Virabhadrasana 2. When you're ready. Again, body shifting toward the right side of the mat, shoulders turning that way, hips gazing out over the left hand. All right, flip that left palm to the ceiling, reach forward, and then reach up and back, reversing your warrior. That little micro movement, extending the knee forward, of course, as long as it doesn't cause you any pain. And then straighten that front leg and keep stretching back. Returning back to your warrior two. I'm going to reach forward again through those left fingertips, trying to keep both side bodies long. Bring the forearm to the leg and extend the right arm over the ear for Parsvakonasana. Creating that long line from the outside of the right foot through the right fingertips. Lifting the left side body away from the leg. And turn the body to the floor. And step the right foot forward, forward fold. Widen your stance a little bit. Put a little soft bend in the knees. Bring the hands behind you, interlacing them, taking a bound forward fold. Thinking about opening up the shoulders, releasing to the backs of the legs. All right, and with a soft bend in the knees, press down, rise up with the bind. And then keep that bind and lift the heart, press the knuckles back and down. And release. Shrug those shoulders back a couple times, let that go. And we'll play with a little bit more balance here, and then working to our final pose. Okay, so if you feel that you need to, you can come to a wall. We're going to come into Ekapada Tadasana, one leg mountain with a twist. And you can always practice this with the foot on the floor and just play with it right there. All right, so rooting down through that right leg's rooting down, lift onto the toes of the left foot, reach the arms overhead and begin to lift the left foot away from the floor. Or as I said, you can keep those toes on the ground if you don't have a wall to hold on to and you need it. So here, in a little bit of a stressful pose, trying to find that smooth, steady breath, that deep breathing that we've been working on. Of course, we have to twist here. So begin to open up to the left. The right hand can stretch forward or come to the outside of that left leg, creating a little more tension to increase the twist. If it's part of your practice to hold the foot here and extend the leg, feel free to take that version. And can you breathe deeply here? All right, release that back to Ekapada Tadasana. Reach those arms up and bring the foot to the floor and release the hands and shake that out. And we'll switch sides. All right, so beginning to shift that weight into the left foot, you can first come onto the toes of the right foot, standing up tall, and then reach the arms up and start to lift that right leg away from the floor. Again, working on the breathing. All right, as we begin to twist open to the right, the left arm can reach forward and the right arm back, or maybe the left hand comes to the outside of the right leg. Staying tall as you twist. And again, if it's part of your practice and you want to take a hold of the foot and extend the leg, you can take that version here. All right, really stretch those arms up and bring the foot to the floor and shake it out. Okay, so I wanted to finish with pyramid pose into revolved triangle. Definitely have those blocks. I'm hoping that we opened the chest a little bit, hopefully enough to start to turn the body. Done a lot of twisting and hopefully opened up those hamstrings. All right, so from the top of the mat, right foot will stay forward, left foot steps back. So find a stance here that feels comfortable and stable for you. We like to say, you know, we're not trying to necessarily be on a balance beam, but maybe more of on a ladder. So we have those hips turning forward, and you can have your hands on your hips. Really important for leg stability here, we want to think of the legs as scissors. So they're drawing toward each other isometrically and hugging toward the center of the body. All right, so now that you started that, taking a bind behind the back, whatever bind works for you, the hands can be interlaced. You can grab opposite wrists if you need to. You can grab opposite elbows. All right, or reverse namaste if you're ready to go there. Okay, so now we did that with the upper body, so let's check back with those legs again and reinvigorate the legs, pressing them down into the floor, breathing in, lifting the heart, and exhale, hinging over that right leg. Couple more deep breaths here. And now we're going to release those hands to the floor or to the blocks for full pyramid pose. Keep scissoring the legs together. Now from here, grabbing those blocks if you need them, or maybe even if you don't need them, taking whatever height suits you best. So before we twist, we want to inhale and lengthen the body. So either both hands are on the floor or both hands are on blocks. Now that right hand is coming to the right hip first. Most likely your right hip is starting to come forward. Draw it back and down. Keeping the heart lifted, start to turn open to your right. Then maybe that right hand comes up. Just depending on your shoulder, you're still doing the pose if the right hand remains on the hip. We'll hold this for a couple breaths. If there's anybody who just can't help themselves from coming in revolved half moon, you can step into it here. All right, wherever you are, starting to release, both hands come down to those blocks. Now keeping those legs strong, maybe a little micro bend in the knees. Inhale with the hands on the hips and rise up. And step that left foot forward. Whew. All right. Yeah, shake that out if you need to. All right, almost there. From the top of your mat, step the right foot back, getting those legs ready for pyramid pose. Okay, so remember, scissoring the legs, hugging them in toward each other, drawing them toward each other isometrically, squaring the hips toward the top of the mat. Now, finding your bind. If you interlace, find the opposite bind, so the weird thumb on top. If you grabbed opposite elbows, do that the awkward way. Okay, and then check in on those legs again. Press down into the floor with the feet. Inhale, lift up through the crown of the head. Keep that length as you begin to fold forward. Breathing deeply, trying to find ease in the breath. Even here, right? A lot of times when we're folding in a pose like this, we're really not thinking a whole lot about our breath. We're thinking about, when is she going to let my hands go? When am I going to be able to bend my knees again? So try to think about your breath. All right, release those hands down to the floor, to the blocks. We'll take a few breaths here before we proceed into that revolved triangle. All right, so either with the hands on the floor, on the blocks. I find I need blocks when I twist, or I really don't twist very much at all. All right, so remember, we want to lengthen first. Keep the spine long, keep space in the torso before we twist. So right hand is on the floor on a block. Left hand into that left hip crease here. So press that hip down and back again, probably popping forward. Keep that length, twist to the left, and lift that left arm up, or keep the hand on the hip. Taking a couple of breaths here, if you want to proceed and move into revolved half moon, you can start to go there if that's part of your practice. And releasing the hands back down. Check in on those legs, bring the hands to the hips, and rise up and step the right foot forward and shake that out. All right, you can move those blocks off to the side. Come back to the top of the mat. We're going to flow, make our way down to our mats. So standing well here, close your eyes just for a couple breaths and come back to that deep breathing. Maybe noticing, acknowledging, hopefully that you feel a little differently than you did. Remembering that breath brings you energy, brings you life. All right, root down through the legs, stretch the arms up, breathing in. Exhale, hinging, folding forward. Inhale, lifting halfway. Exhale, fold, knees bend, step or hop back to your high plank. All right, from here, take that vinyasa if you'd like it. Otherwise, come right into downward facing dog. And either way, we will all meet in down dog. All right, lifting the right leg up, we're going to bring the right foot wide. So then stepping the right foot wide on the mat, preparing for lizard lunge. So it's at the outside of your right hand, lowering the left knee to the floor. So from here, you can grab a block if you need it. You can stay on your hands. So the blocks can come underneath the elbows, or the elbows can come to the floor. Remember, if you have tight hips, you can create more space by moving your foot off of your mat, pivoting your toes a little bit wider than your heel. And working on your breath here as you're stretching your hips, your groins, your hip flexors. All right, from here, we're going to take that right hand to the inner side. Just make sure you're not pressing on any knee joints. As you start to press the right leg away, coming toward the knife edge of that right foot, drawing the shoulders back. Now from here, if it's part of your practice, if you'd like to take the bind, bringing that left foot in toward the glute, wrapping around the right hand, finding the top of that foot, maybe taking the quad stretch first, and then pressing the leg away as you open the heart. All right. Making your way out of whatever version you're in, bringing the hands to the floor, lifting the left knee, and stepping back, downward facing dog. All right, from here, we'll lift that left leg up, stepping the left foot wide to the outside of the left hand, preparing yourself for lizard on the second side with the block on the hands or down on the forearms. Remembering that too, if just one of your arms is kind of hovering, you want to use that block so that you can relax as you're in this pose. We're not talking about shoulders today, but your shoulders should feel at ease here. Breathing deeply. Remembering maybe taking some of this breath off of your mat, working on this when you're driving or when you're feeling stressed. All right, shifting onto the right hand, right forearm, taking the left hand to the inside of the leg as you press that left leg open, coming to the knife edge of the left foot. Then from here, you could stay right here or finding the bind, bending the right leg, reaching around, the left hand coming to the foot. You can stay with the quad stretch for a couple breaths and then maybe decide to open up and press that foot away, opening up the chest. All right, And slowly, carefully releasing, bring both hands to the floor, lift the right knee away, step back, last downward facing dog, pedaling it out here. And then lower down to the knees. And extend your legs out long. Make sure your blocks are within reach. We're going to do a supported bridge pose in a moment here. Make sure you have space behind you. You can gently lower onto your back, or you can do this version with me where we extend the arms out in front of us, C curving the spine, lowering down one vertebrae at a time. All right, once you arrive on your back, bend your knees and place your feet flat on the floor. All right, so we're going to come into, first of all, let's do supine pigeon, then we'll move into bridge pose. So cross the right ankle over that left thigh, lift the left foot away from the floor, feed your right arm in the opening of the legs, wrapping the left arm around the outside. So you're either at your hamstring here, or if you need to go deeper, you come to the shin. So softening through the face and the shoulders, continuing to work on breathing deeply, especially if you have tight hips here. I like to imagine that that inhale helps to create some space in the tight muscles. And the exhale, thinking of that as more of a release in the muscles. Maybe for a breath or two, starting to bring that left knee a little closer. Maybe the right knee slightly turns away. And then from here, if your hands are not already there, bring your hands to your hamstrings and extend that left leg straight. And if this is too much for you because you have really tight hamstrings and it does not suit you to keep this leg straight, just maybe bend and straighten the leg a few times. And let's all just kind of flex and point that left foot, move it around a little bit. Turn, do a couple circles with the ankle. And now from here, if you'd like, you can release the hamstring and start to walk the hand up the leg and start to draw that foot behind you. Or just stay stretching the foot towards the ceiling. And bring that foot to the floor. Foot is still crossed over the leg. Extend the arms wide, and we'll take a twist here. So knees coming to the right. If this is too much on your knee or any other part of your body, maybe your back, you can always take an alternate twist, stacking your knees and your ankles. Either way, we're trying to breathe space into the low back, into the left side body. All right, bring the legs up and uncross that right foot and switch out your side, supine pigeon on the left side. So cross that left ankle over the right thigh, lift the foot away from the floor, feed the arm in the opening of the left arm in the opening, and you're either binding at the hamstring or at the shin below the knee. You can find that diaphragmic breathing here. All right, if your hands are not at your hamstring, bring them there for me, and then we're going to straighten that right leg. And like I said before, if this is too much stress on the hamstring and you feel it's more beneficial to bend and straighten that leg here, a little bit of movement while you stretch, you can do that. Or you can hold the leg static and start to pull it toward you. Or maybe, oh, we didn't do the ankle thing. So don't forget to flex and point the foot and turn the ankle in both directions. All right, and then you can start to walk the hands up and start to draw that foot toward the floor behind you. I'm sure some people are thinking this is kind of crazy, and then some people love this. All right, release that right foot to the floor. Extend the arms wide and take your twist, bringing both knees to the left with that ankle still crossed over the thigh, or taking an alternate version that suits you. And bring both legs up and uncross. All right, So we're starting to get short on time here, but let's finish with a supported bridge pose. If you don't want to do a supported bridge and you feel like you're at the end of class, you want to do a regular bridge pose, you can. Otherwise, have that block near you. Extend your fingertips down in the direction of your heels. Try to have your feet about hip distance. Remember, your hips are where your hip bones are. And then feeling all four corners of the feet on the mat, let's take a deep breath in here. Filling up completely, and then exhale, feel your lower back on the floor. And then inhale, press into the feet and lift the hips up for bridge. So as I said, taking a supported bridge or a traditional bridge here without the block. So the block can go underneath the sacrum. I would definitely suggest on its lowest level or its second level. They have more of a therapeutic, restorative effect here versus so intense. Keeping space between the chin and the chest. The throat is open without looking up, keeping a neutral neck. And one last little reminder, see if you can find that diaphragmatic breathing here in your bridge pose. Two more breaths. And then pressing into your feet, lifting the hips away from the block, setting the block to the side, keeping the hips lifted, spread out the shoulder blades, and try to lower as slowly as you can, one vertebrae at a time, back down to the mat. Once you arrive, spread your feet a little bit wider, let your knees knock into touch, and let your hands rest on your belly for a moment. And then open your arms wide, palms facing up, relaxing the shoulders, and begin to extend the legs long to prepare for your Shavasana. Couple of deep breaths to release. I encourage you for a couple breaths to try to make your exhale a little bit longer than your inhale. That helps us relax. We'll give you a better Shavasana. And as you're here, quiet for a couple moments, allowing your body to absorb your practice. Come to a natural state of breath. Unforced. Feeling that ease in your breath. The quiet in your mind. And the stillness of your body. As you release into your Shavasana. And beginning to breathe more deeply. Inviting in that new air, that new energy, that new life into your body. Begin to move your hands and your feet, stretching your fingers, your toes, moving those ankles and wrists. And begin to bend the knees, drawing them in toward you, giving yourself a hug, massaging the low back as you move side to side, front to back. And then rolling over onto your right side, giving yourself a moment of pause between your practice and the rest of your day. Left hand into the floor, lifting yourself up to a seat. You can sit for a moment at the top of your mat, maybe with your eyes closed and hands together in front of your heart. Let's just take a moment to acknowledge this power of our breath. The power of our breath, right? That fast breath can make us feel stressed, but we can, I don't want to say control our breath, but we can adjust our breath. Adjusting our breath can adjust our perspective because it has such an effect on our entire body, the way we breathe, mentally, physically, and emotionally. So remember what we practiced here today, and I hope that you take it off of your mat and apply it in the rest of your life. My deepest gratitude for each of you signing on today and spending your time here with me. So I'll take a deep breath in together and exhale. Namaste. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. Hello, Jane. It's good to see you. Everybody's muted.